Hello and welcome to the second update for February 2017. Quite a few things been going on at the east end of the layout which I'd like to take you through in a kind of stage by stage process. So I hope you enjoy, and any questions get in touch. Cheers. The first thing I'd like to cover is the raised embankment on the right hand side of the incline track. This was originally, up until my last update, supposed to be a retaining wall, but there are a couple of comments saying that why don't you vary it a little bit by putting a bit of a hillside in there. So what I've done is I've used my Celotex insulation foam and I've cut it. This bit's fixed down so I can't take it out, but I'll show you the other piece in a moment. I kind of used a kitchen knife, basically, a bread knife, and a scalpel to kind of get the profile that I wanted, and then I just used my Surform file to take off the roughest of edges. It's not finished yet. Obviously I've got gaps at the bottom to fill in, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that later in the video. If we move along to the right hand side here, the square block, I've put a piece of backboard in place. This part here actually goes at the very corner, and there's a longer section that goes, you know, right away along here, which is on the floor at the moment. This is what I've done with the Celotex. I've actually cut a kind of slot out of it so it slots down. That'll be fixed with foam tack glue, but if any time in the future I need to obviously hoik it out, it's not going to be too onerous a task. Obviously remember, I like to have these removable for access into the track, so they can be freely taken in and out. They'll have the self-adhesive back seam put on them at some stage, which will be a country stroke fields and trees seam, which will tie in nicely with the kind of undulations and the slopes in this raised section. So I hope the people who suggested to me that I ditch the retaining wall idea and put this in are watching and have any comments on that. This will continue all the way up, slightly raising slightly as it goes up until it reaches here, and you can see I put another raised section in place. That stuff's just been glued, so I can't start carving and hacking at it just now. It's been held in place by Woodland Scenic's foam nails while the foam tack glue goes off and dries. That section's still all removable just now. This is what I've put in place this week. The raised section actually sits higher than the raised section the track's on, so it will give the impression if I take it down it's raised even further. You see that? And it's got an embankment right from the uncut piece at the left hand side of the screen there, right the way around until it joins this other piece where my finger is, and slowly fades down to flat before it drops off the end there. And obviously that's not been held down, and it's just been cut there just now. So that'll be all covered in plaster cloth, painted in earth coloured pigments, and then your scenic stuff goes onto that. But that's way after all the track's ballasted and weathered. So I'll take it around to the other side and show you this raised section. In my last video I asked for suggestions as what to put in this corner, citing that it was about 2 feet by 2 feet. As it transpires it's probably less than that because of the curve, the time you cut that in, etc. So I had less to play with. What I did do was I got a bungalow under construction. It was a previous release Scenecraft item which has got the scaffolding round about it, etc., roof trusses. So I thought about a couple of them in here, kind of going, under construction, like the corner of a housing estate, or possibly even just a couple of country cottages getting built, in maybe an acres of land or whatever. That's one option. Second option is a kind of static caravan, towing caravan, stroke campsite scene. You know, I could maybe fit about 2 or 3 static caravans in here, a camping area, a couple of towing, you know, possibly maybe a toilet kind of hut, or a showering hut that you would find at these places. And obviously that ties in with the kind of more rural scene of the back scene here. Okay, so that's one option. The other option, as I said, is the house under construction. Even just one house under construction, like it's in an acre of land. You know, somebody's bought the land and they're putting a kind of house out of the town, and there's obviously plenty of space for maybe, you know, double garage, big driveway garages, big garden, maybe the odd, you know, horse in a field or something like that. So I've kind of got a couple of options narrowed down here. But thanks for all your options. I had great ones. It was a church, either mountains and waterfalls, a country pub which was very tempting, you know, cement works, a distillery which was a great idea, but again the space was kind of getting at me to kind of fit things in. It would have to have been quite low relief. But I've got another corner of the layout still to do up the other end, so I'll keep all these suggestions in mind. You know, there's a limit to what I can fit on the layout, but without it looking too crowded. But I've got a couple of ideas. I'll probably keep changing them, but I'll keep at them. As you can see there, the ground kind of tails away there. This will all be covered in plaster cloth as well. Okay. And that gives me ample space for the masts, overhead mast, posts, you know, maybe a little kind of hut there, a communications hut, or a, you know, overhead line set of boxes, or, you know, relay sections and stuff in that kind of gap just before it goes off the cliff there towards the lower section. It's taking shape, coming quite a bit visually in the last week, just with this Celotex stuff. You can see in here the retaining wall on the left, just white just now, not been primed or painted yet, and it kind of stops there. And it will have, you know, buttresses to support it, and ledge on top, and that goes all the way down there, just for the corner, which is necessity because I couldn't fit an embankment in at the left hand side there, which would be too steep. It'd be like a cliff face. I've now managed to put a ply upper here, and it's a 9mm ply, and it sits on my usual 45mm by 45mm square pine blocks cut to size, and it's just held down with a 1-inch wood screw. Now this will be a girder style design, and where the white paper is sitting, that's the curved wall which is in construction at the moment, and then the ply uppers here that are cut at an angle will sit where the tunnel entrance will be. As you can see, the yellow masking tape there shows me where I want all the step bits of wall and the tunnel entrance to be. They're just in construction just now. What I'll do is I'll line those with the brick plasticard, and I'll take it to there and I'll try and curve it over, because it's quite flexible, the plasticard, and it'll be joined there, so I'll get a tunnel roof, and I'll just cut it at the angle that I need to match the entrance of the tunnel, and they'll all be glued down, these two ply things. When I put the wall in place, which runs obviously along here, this will be an area here which will have to be plied over, and I've got a couple of ideas what I want to put in there. Maybe a wee electric substation to a trackside thing to, you know, power the booster station for the overhead wires. Maybe I'll make it derelict, you know, overgrown, etc. But there'll be area there for it. And then I've no idea what I'm putting here yet, but that's for a later date. As you can see, I've now carved what was the square block in my previous clips. I've now carved it into the shape that I want, and it slowly rises up till it gets to the raised section there. You see a lot of pins and glue, and when I was carving it, it kind of disintegrated on me a little bit, so I've just patched it up, put some foam tack glue in. That'll all be covered by plaster cloth anyways, but it's just to, you know, give me less work to do with the filler. The gaps that I mentioned in the previous clip, and there's an example here, I've just kind of filled it with foam tack glue, and I might even sprinkle some of the shaven dust from the Celotex onto the glue to help it kind of bind together. And what I've done with this bigger gap is I've actually got thin strips of the Celotex and just have put some glue in and then push the foam in, and that'll, you know, that'll suffice. That's going to be covered in plastic cloth as well. If there's any imperfections that I don't like, then they can be filled with some of the plaster that I've got. I've got some shaper sheet plaster that I'm going to use to, you know, manipulate the landscape once the plaster cloth is down. Moving round, I've just cut and fixed this down. Again, that just kind of tails off to there. Again, that'll all be covered in plaster cloth and scenic material. I'm just using the weights to hold it down just now. Because it's so cold up here just now, the foam tack glue is taking quite a while to set, so I'm going to have to be quite patient, and it'll be a while before I can get the plaster cloth down. That's it for this update. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please get in touch. Cheers!